Hello everybody and welcome back to another video for the day. We're going back into r/Tales of Neckbeard because everybody loves those good old storytime videos. If you guys would like to be absolutely amazing, show your support and let me know you guys want to see more videos like these in the future. Be sure to hit that like button, comment down below what you would like to see about the video, and if you have not already, subscribe and turn on those notifications. Let's go. Our first story comes to us from username Clay Castles. My boyfriend's neckbeard friend called me a lolly and wanted to freak me. Boyfriend thought it was funny. So this memory recently resurfaced for me. I had completely forgotten about it for a while, but after reading some of these stories, I realized, oh shot, that was a neckbeard, so I thought I'd share. Call me Clay, was like 16 when this happened, and was basically the perfect neckbeard bait. I was very short, very small, and a little underdeveloped in the badonka department. I had dyed hair, half a shaved head, and was very into anime and comics, etc. My cringy little self walked around school with an Invader Zim backpack every day. I wore anime t-shirts and I wore a Natsu fairy tale scarf every day in the winter. I was a freaking weeb and everyone could see it. I was also dating this boy at the time. We will call him Ivan. I was not happy in the relationship anymore, but I hadn't realized I wanted to break up with him yet, so we were still together. I wasn't single. Introducing the neckbeard. Tom, not me, as I'm going to call him. Tom was Ivan's friend. He was a lanky, skinny, oily guy. He was a senior, 18 or 19, and he was in my English class, even though he was 2 grades above me because he wasn't the best student. He liked all the same stuff I did, but he only actually hung out with Ivan. He never spoke to me in class, but he did stare a lot. I didn't mind much because with my haircut, I got a lot of weird looks. I was used to it. Well, one day I met Ivan at his bus before going home, like we always did. You know, kiss him goodbye and all that, but Tom was there. He was chatting with Ivan and I didn't think much of it. I said a polite hello, kissed Ivan goodbye, and left, but I noticed Tom was staring a lot when we kissed. It gave him a weird feeling, but I brushed it off. Then after that, Tom showed up at the bus every day. He barely said anything to me. He spoke with Ivan until I showed up and then cut off the conversation, watched me kiss my boyfriend, and then I left. This happened every day for like 3 weeks. Then one day I get to the bus and their conversation isn't cut off right away. Ivan was laughing uncomfortably and Tom was grinning. I asked what was going on and my boyfriend said, and I quote, "Tom was just telling me how much he wants to freak a lolly, specifically you." He said this laughing. My boyfriend said this laughing. I was stunned. I had no idea how to respond to that. I'm not a freaking lolly, and I felt extremely grossed out by the entire thing. Tom looked completely unashamed. I turned around and left without giving Ivan a kiss goodbye, or even saying goodbye. All my emotions were so knotted up, I couldn't really tell how I was feeling beyond disgusted. Looking back on it now, I know I was also feeling betrayed by Ivan, but I couldn't put a name to the emotion at the time. The next day, I got to my English class, sat down, and only lasted about 5 minutes before I couldn't take it anymore. Tom was fully staring at me, and now I knew why. I felt like my skin was crawling. I called the teacher over and asked if I could speak to her in the hallway. I explained that I wanted to do my work next door, or in the media center, or the office, etc. I just wanted to be anywhere but the same room as Tom. She asked why, and I had to explain to her what a lolly was. She agreed to let me leave. I did my classwork for the day in the office. When it was time to go home, I stopped at Ivan's bus to say goodbye, and Tom was there. He gave me a half-hearted apology. I later found out my lovely, amazing friend forced out of him with threats of beating him up if he ever laid a hand on me. Tom said, "I'm sorry if you were uncomfortable," which isn't even a real apology. Apologize for your actions, not for how I felt about your actions, butthole. I said something along the lines of, "Never speak to or about me that way again," and he left. He didn't keep coming to Ivan's bus after that. I still regret not getting an apology from Ivan. I regret just letting his actions slide by. He allowed his friend to speak about me, his girlfriend, that way. He thought it was funny. We broke up not long after when I realized how unhappy I was in the relationship. Sorry if this is long, I tend to ramble. You know, I gotta really appreciate the whole teacher helping remove you from the situation and everything, because a lot of times it would be the whole they pull the boys will be boys card, or oh, he just likes you card. They don't help out any which way whatsoever because they think think it'll look bad on you, but, you know, kudos for the teacher for actually helping out solve the situation. Our next story comes to us from username RemusR3. The first story of my many experiences with a neckbeard. Obligatory, I'm on mobile, and sorry for spelling and grammar, TLDR at the end. So, I'm in high school theater. It's a lot of fun, and we all enjoy it, and are close friends. Now, some backstory, I moved to this school halfway through my second year, and first person to welcome me was Weird Guy, referred to as WG for this story. He seemed nice, and I didn't have any friends, so I talked to him from my homeroom period. He didn't physically have a neckbeard, but definitely acted like one, rambled on about anime and how cute the girls are in anime, and that the way they act is how girls should act in real life. I understood none of it, but I let him talk. After that homeroom period, I was warned by a girl A to stay away from WG because he was creepy and pushy. I didn't want to judge, so I just distended myself slightly, hanging out with this A friends who were all nice and I had a lot in common with. Back to the story, they convinced me to join the high school theater. I was still kind of friendly with WG and he came to every show. Apparently he didn't do that before, and always gave me flowers even if I was running tech. It was weird and uncomfortable, especially when I started dating one of my guy friends, referred to as BF, and WG still gave me flowers. I hate confrontations, so I never said anything to him, but told my friends I was uncomfortable. In our third year, we decided to put on a play of Lord of the Rings. We are nerds and stupid. Okay, I don't know who even suggested that, and we decided to add a twist, making it a miscast. Guys play girls' roles and girls play guys' roles. This also helped that we had more girls in theater than guys. I got the role of Aragorn, and BF got Arwen. We were so excited that we got these roles. So next day, in form room, WG asked me how theater is going, and the conversation goes something like this. Great, I just got the role of Aragorn, and BF got the role of Arwen from our Lord of the Rings productions. At this point, he knew we were dating. Well, I think you'd make a better Arwen and BF cause you're actually a girl. Well, it's a miscast, so guys are girls and girls are guys. Honestly, I think I'd be better as like Galadriel, so just has to stay there and say all these very wise things. After a break of silence, doesn't Aragorn use a sword? How are you going to do that? Well, we have fake swords and choreographed fights that anyone can do, so I think I'm okay. I can teach you. I've watched a lot of medieval movies. I can show you how to use a sword. Oh, thanks, but I'm actually practicing with A and boyfriend after school. After this, he was quiet and school went by quickly, and I went into the auditorium for rehearsal. All was going well, and we were messing around with the bows and swords and messing with makeups for orcs. WG came in at one point and sat in one of the seats we'd set out for stage blocking, and no one noticed. No one is meant to be in for rehearsal that isn't part of the theater crew. I was practicing with boyfriend with the swords while bantering around. He hit me in the side and I dramatically fell to the floor shouting. I was also laughing as well as my boyfriend, but apparently that part went over WG's head because as boyfriend was about to help me back up is when WG pushed him. Now WG is a bit heavyset and tall, and boyfriend is decently tall but pretty average in build, so it was easy for WG to knock him off balance and he fell over, so one of the other theater kids ran over to help him up. WG started screaming at boyfriend, calling him a butthole, abuser, alpha male, douchebag, and all other things. Boyfriend is the literal opposite of an alpha male. He's quiet and shy, so we were all very confused and no one ever spoke bad about him, and I never gave any signs I was being abused. I literally had 3 scratches and a bruise on my arm, which I told him was from my dog getting too excited and that I knocked into the doorway, which was true. I shouted at WG, telling him that I'm not being abused and I was joking around, being dramatic, so he claims that boyfriend should have never raised his sword to me, and the rest of our conversation goes like this. We were practicing a fight choreography. I was the one that started the fight. He shouldn't have retaliated. I asked him to help me with fight choreography. He is helping me practice. Well, I would never do that to you. No, but you would hug me knowing I don't like to be hugged, make fun of LGBTQ when you know I'm part of it, demisexual pan-leaning, talk about self-harm and offing myself, which you know makes me uncomfortable, and brings me flowers when I ask you to stop because I was uncomfortable, and constantly be sexist and how girls only go for douchebags. I was pissed at this point. You went for a butthole when I've only ever been nice to you? I bet you're a fake nerd and don't even know anything about Aragorn. Firstly, I went for an actual nice guy because I've said a million times I'm attracted to personality. Second, I do know about Lord of the Rings. And third, why does it matter? What was his nickname as a ranger then? He was clearly trying to change the subject, and I tried arguing that he was being ridiculous and to leave, but he kept saying it was me being scared to show I was a fake nerd. So because I'm a petty barge, I answered with a straight face before going through every question he could already ask. WG left tail between his legs and our cast laughing at him. Sorry if it was long, but I ramble. I have more stories about WG if you want to hear them. TLDR, Neckbeard used to give me flowers in theater, thought my boyfriend really hurt me with a plastic sword when we were laughing, and claimed I was being abused, and when that didn't work, tried to prove I was a fake nerd and then left defeated. Our last story comes to us from username AfraidString. Repeat offender. TLDR, I was pursued by a neckbeard who went after one of my friends even harder and creepier. Since I, 25-year-old female, was a teenager, I worked in largely male-dominated fields and workplaces, so I've had a multitude of experiences with neckbeards, but this one in particular always comes to mind when I read other neckbeard stories. Me and Neckbeard started out as friends at our summer jobs, and he actually seemed like a pretty good guy. During the off seasons of this job, I had a date cancel on me last minute for a group activity, and since Neckbeard lived close, I asked him to come with me as a favor so the group wouldn't have to reschedule. We had an okay time, but it wasn't exactly a love connection for me. He wasn't a bad-looking guy, actually pretty much the opposite of the usual Neckbeard expectation, but his personality was, and it was just not something I was attracted to romantically. Also, I was 16 and just enjoying dating around. After that night, he started texting me a lot. I tried to make it clear I wasn't interested, but didn't have the confidence to just outright say it, so I said that I was trying not to go on a date with the same guy twice in a row at that time, which wasn't untrue. We went back to work that summer and ended up having a conversation about school dances. I said I'd wanted to wear my chucks to prom the year before, but my date was so tall it would have been too awkward. He said he'd wanted to wear his to prom, but his date didn't want it. Then he joked, I thought, that we should go together the next year. Over that time, he kept texting and asking me out a bunch, or suggesting hangouts, but I tried to avoid it as much as possible. Undaunted, he biked about 10 miles to my house one day while I was gone, and my mom fed him, so he was there when I got home. He brought up while he was there the sequel to a movie I had liked was coming out, and my mom, meaning well and not knowing I was a little weirded out, told us we should go. I roped one of my friends into a double date, and it was an exceedingly awkward experience with me leaning as far away from him as possible. Then came prom time, and suddenly he's texting me asking the color of my dress so he can match because we're still going together, right? I should have said no, but I went because I felt obligated to, but I was really starting to get creeped out. During my junior year, I self-published a novel which he read fanatically and would quote to me and then asked if he could send me a screenplay he'd written to see what I thought. I hesitantly agreed and really wished I hadn't. It was a vigilante theme, and the main character displayed a lot of scary personality traits that were a mirror of its author. I gave him some generic feedback, and then he asked if I thought it was weird that he'd almost had the main character brutally murdered a guy because he was rude to a waitress. Yes. In the middle of my senior year, I started dating a guy I had been interested in for a long time, and Neckbeard found out. He texted me saying, "What happened to the smart OP who wasn't going to date anyone in high school?" I finally got mad enough at the point to block him on everything and had avoided him during the next summer as much as possible. At one point, he found me on break and tried to make conversation, wondering why we weren't close friends anymore. Had we been? That summer, he started shifting his interests to my other friend and roommate who had just started working with us. I warned her about what I knew, but she didn't believe me at first. He would come by our place a few nights a week to hang out with her, and I always hid in the room. Eventually, she sort of started to see it too, but still wasn't sure. After that summer, she went to a college out of state, and at that point, Neckbeard has completely shifted his focus to her, although he'd tried to ask me about her. He kept sending her increasingly weird messages and Snapchats, like shirtless selfies and bed headshots, and weird quotes, and eventually sent her a t-shirt he slept in of all things. She finally blocked him too. Some of our other friends who knew the stories were still friends with him on social media for a while, and would send us the angsty screenshots of posts he would make about being a nice guy and wondering why his efforts never bore fruit. Apparently, he's married now, I guess. Good for him. And with that, that is going to have to be it with the video. If you would like to be absolutely amazing and show your support, be sure to hit that like button, leave a comment down below, and if you have not already, subscribe to the channel. I'll be sure to see you guys in the next one. Thank you so much for watching, and bye-bye.